I made a commitment. I said, like I said, to all my folks, all the Americans in the State of the Union address.
Well, there he is, Joe Biden, and he's struggling with his teleprompter, as he usually does. Most people just read the doggone thing, but he tries to read it and ends up going off the ranch somewhere. It's just bizarre, and we wanted to begin with that kind of bizarre moment. Very happy to have you on the live stream today. We are coming to you live from the Huckabee Theater, just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, where we'll be doing the Huckabee Show this week, that I'm sure you're going to be watching on TBN. Joining me is our senior producer for the Huckabee Show, Pam Case. She's going to be reading the questions that you send in, and you get to send them in. We don't make up our own questions. We let you do it. You can send them to us in the chat, and if you'd like more visibility, moving yours to the top, send a super chat. We got moderators who watch the chat for questions. They feed them to us here on the set, and we'll take quite a few of them today. We have a lot of videos to show you, things that have happened this week. Of course, we're going to talk about the biggest news of the week, the indictment of President Donald Trump. That's been a real piece of news for sure. We're going to cover arguably the biggest news of the year. We're the only people covering it because ABC, NBC, and CBS have totally ignored the story. And are you feeling proud yet? Well, some middle school kids are not, and we'll tell you why. Right now, we're going to turn to Pam for the pre-show poll. What do we have over there?
Oh, the simplicity of this week's poll, and you're going to love it. The question we put out there before the stream started this afternoon, do you think the media will take the allegations against Joe Biden seriously?
I'd say we're in the 90s on no.
Well, you know, good guess, Gov. 96% basically just said ha, 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 ha.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And 4% with their objective, so they will. So there we are with the pre-show poll. A little fun before we got started today.
Yeah, I'm with the 96%. I don't think the media will cover it until they have to, until it's screaming out, until both Joe and Hunter and Jim Biden and the whole bunch of them are under indictment and frog marched across the lawn of a federal courthouse, which, by the way, will never happen. They may get in trouble, but they're never going to have that kind of treatment. It'll all be done very quietly and all that sort of thing. They'll be protected, unlike some of the people who had anything to do with Donald Trump, whether it's Roger Stone or, Peter Navarro or Trump himself. Oh, yeah. Anyway, our top comment from last week's live stream comes to us from Michael D454. That sounds like an inmate number, doesn't it? I guess it's a code name. But anyway, here's what he says. Quote, Trump 2024, everyone better be aware. If things don't change quickly, we have to stand strong or we're going to lose our country. Michael, I agree with you. I think that's really what is at stake. This is not about one party versus another. This is a pretty big deal in terms of whether we're going to have law and order for everybody or for just the people that the folks in power don't like. Here's the question for you this week. We'd love to get you to weigh in on it on the chat. Do you believe that Donald Trump should drop out of the race for president, as some of his political opponents suggest? Leave your answers in the chat or comment section below. Do you think Donald Trump should drop out of the race because he's under indictment? Some of his opponents say so, and I'd love to get you to weigh in and tell us what you think. If you have not subscribed to the channel, look, this is a good time to do it, and it really helps us. And let me explain why. If you subscribe to the channel, we are just really close to 1 million subscribers. And a lot of the people that watch our breakdown content each week and the live stream don't even subscribe. They just watch. Subscribing doesn't obligate you for a $12.99 a month obligation. All it means is you subscribe. If you hit the notification bell, when we're putting out content, you'll just be alerted. You don't have to watch it, but you'll know when we have it. And obviously you must like it because you're watching it. Then if you hit the like and the share button, that also helps us to reach more people. It's just the way social media works. Sounds crazy, but it's the way that it really does work. All right, we're going to get into today. As we said to you, the biggest story of the week was Donald Trump being indicted down in South Florida. And it was all about having some papers that the government and their special prosecutor said that he shouldn't have. Donald Trump's reaction to it was this.
Today we witnessed the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country. Very sad thing to watch. A corrupt sitting president had his top political opponent arrested on fake and fabricated charges of which he and numerous other presidents would be guilty, right in the middle of a presidential election in which he is losing very badly. This is called election interference and yet another attempt to rig and steal a presidential election.
Now, that's Donald Trump speaking for himself. But, you know, the networks like NBC, they're never going to let you hear Donald Trump. They're going to tell you what they think he said, what they think he should have said, but they're not going to let you hear from him. And why is that? Well, Rachel Maddow gives us the reason.
Knew heading into this that he was planning to make these remarks. We are prepared for his pre-fundraiser remarks tonight to again be essentially a Trump campaign speech. Because of that, we do not intend to carry these remarks live. As we have said before in these circumstances, there is a cost to us as a news organization to knowingly broadcast untrue things. We are here to bring you the news. It hurts our ability to do that if we live broadcast what we fully expect in advance to be a litany of lies and false accusations, no matter who says them.
That's a big lie itself. MSNBC spent 4 years telling us that Donald Trump had colluded with the Russians. Now we know after the Durham report. No, he didn't. The whole thing was fabricated. It was made up and paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. Did you hear that on MSNBC? No, you didn't, because they're very careful to protect the people that have their liberal point of view and to go after the people who have a conservative point of view. So everything you just heard her say in itself is a lie. That's what's so frustrating in trying to make sense of what once was a profession called journalism. It doesn't exist anymore, and that's clear indication. Now, Joe Biden has been asked by at least occasionally a reporter about this growing body of evidence that he took millions of dollars in direct bribes from the Ukrainian oligarchs and government to influence policy in the U.S. But his response to it, well, I would just say it's less than forthcoming.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by, if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
Now, all this week, we've been dealing with a Biden Justice Department going after Donald Trump. Now, keep in mind, Joe Biden is the likely Democrat nominee. As of now, Donald Trump is the likely Republican nominee. So Joe Biden's Department of Justice and FBI has gone after Donald Trump to make it so that he will not be able to run. And perhaps if he can run, not be able to win. What you just heard was Joe Biden basically admitting that he's going to do everything he can to keep Donald Trump from running for president. It's one thing to say, I'm going to do everything I can to convince the voters to vote for me instead of him. That's legit. But to say, I'm going to try to prevent him from becoming president, now we know that everything that this is going on in the Justice Department, I'm not sure Joe intended to be that transparent about it.
Yeah.
My guess is he had no idea that what he was saying was one of those rare moments of unvarnished truth. And now it comes out. Here's an interesting thing. As questions continue to be posed to Joe Biden about this Ukrainian scandal, Joe has said for years, remember back in the debates with Trump, I don't know anything about my son's business dealings. I've never had a conversation with him about it. Nothing, ever. My son's the smartest guy in the world. Wow. Okay, so this week he gets asked a question about this rather significant body of evidence coming from whistleblowers. And instead of answering the question, he attacks the person who asked the question.
Why did the Ukraine FBI informant file refer to as fake? Why is that term particularly applied? Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Why did that's such a dumb question?
Thanks so much.
Yeah, why did you ask such a dumb question? It wasn't a dumb question. It was a pretty doggone good question. Why do they call you the big guy? Are you the big guy? Where'd that name come from? Why does it apply? Why would you ask such a dumb question? Well, it really wasn't so dumb, but I'm sure you know all about this story, but let me tell you where you don't know it from. ABC, CBS, and NBC. You know how much time they've given to covering this incredible scandal, which, by the way, if this all proves to be true, there's never been a scandal like this in American politics. Never. We've had some pretty big ones. Most people probably think of Watergate. Watergate was a pretty big scandal, but here's what that was about. It was about some political operatives going to the party headquarters of the Democrats and trying to snoop around and get some information. It was stupid. It was criminal. And a lot of people went to prison for it. And Richard Nixon ultimately resigned because of it. But what we're seeing at this is that a person who was sitting vice president was taking under the table money in the tune James Comer, Kentucky congressman and chairman of the Oversight Committee, now says the money could be between $20 and $30 million. And it wasn't just Hunter, but it was the big guy, Joe Biden himself. And hasn't been proven, it's been alleged, but it's been alleged by some pretty credible sources. And you would think that a story of that magnitude would warrant some attention. You know how much time those three networks combined gave to it? 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 0. Between June the 3rd and June the 12th, not 1 second of attention given to that story. By the same token, 291 minutes from those three networks, that's 100 minutes per network, on the Donald Trump story of his indictment. You tell me the media is selling it straight, right? Be sure to hit the subscribe button. I'll say it again. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Be sure to also tell us that you like the YouTube version coming your way and share it with other people. That is an important thing that helps all of us very, very much. Let's take a couple of questions, and then we're going to get to some video because we got a bunch of it today.
Absolutely. Charles F., by the way, a big shout out to him for his super chat. No comment, but just a super chat.
Oh,
putting
thank
him
you,
at the
Charles.
top of the heap today. So, all right. So last week, Jay Luther asked this question, and he brought some statistics to us. 24% GOP, 24% claiming to be Democrats, and 48% independent. Please address the numerous polls that indicate the voters are leaving both the parties in droves. Now, we understand, did a looking into this, and that was a Gallup poll from back in March.
Right. I said last week I was unaware of a poll that had those kind of numbers, and I was not aware of it. We did a little research, found out it was a Gallup poll, and that is what that Gallup poll said.
Yes.
Caught me flat-footed because I would never have imagined that the people who identify with either the Democrat or Republican Party is down to 24%, and the overwhelming majority people call themselves independent.
Right.
I'm very surprised by that.
Yes, of course. It would change a little bit month to month, but that was from March when that actually took place. So thank you, Jay Luther, for bringing that to our attention.
Okay.
All right. So Daryl Hammond today is responding to our question of the day, which is, do you think the media will take the allegations against Joe Biden seriously? And he's saying, heck no. If this works, all one needs to do is create a charge to get rid of the opponent. So there you go. Mike Williamson is saying, I hear many Republicans say we will keep the left accountable. I've not seen any results. What does accountable actually mean? Is it just word salad?
Well, it shouldn't be. And I'm encouraged that the House is going after some of this information. I mean, you got to give it to James Comer, the head of the Oversight Committee. He's not just saying we're going to have some hearings. They're digging. Now, here's the problem. Every time they put their shovel in the ground, the FBI puts concrete under the shovel and says, nope, can't dig here. Charles Grassley over in the Senate. These guys are digging. They're looking for, they are subpoenaing records, and they are calling people to the House and Senate to testify, but they're getting stonewalled every which way. So I'm going to be very, very generous in my assessment and say, give them time, because they are working it, and they're working it hard. It won't go anywhere in the Senate, perhaps because Democrats control it. Chuck Schumer will shut that down. But in the House, Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker, has shown a propensity to turn these guys loose. So you've got him on oversight. Jim Jordan, chairman of the Judicial Committee, is also digging deep. And you know, when we say accountable, will they get charged with a crime? Under this Justice Department, not a chance. But maybe the next one will take it up, and the statute of limitations will not have run out. Here's one thing the Democrats will, I believe, rue the day they ever did. The way they've gone after Trump and all of the people surrounding him has now created a whole new template for how we behave. And what they have done, Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray, DOJ, FBI, and the Biden team have now said, go after your political opponents. Use every resource you have. It's perfectly fine. So they've thrown down the gauntlet, and here's what has to happen. The Republicans have got to say, all right, if this is the new game, we'll play too. And they have to do it. By the way, Lindsey Graham's going to be on our show this weekend. We'll be talking to him about that because love to get his comments on what accountability will look like. Kamala Harris, we call this the Kamala Comedy Hour. She was taking the stage this week in lieu of Joe Biden, who had a root canal, missed 2 days' work because of a root canal. Must have been a heck of a root canal, is all I can say. Not that they're ever pleasant, but that was a tough one to be gone 2 days. But she goes to the stage on Juneteenth, and on what for most people might be a fairly serious occasion, she's like the Joker from Batman. Watch.
Happy Juneteenth. Please have a seat. Please have a seat. And to my Divine Nine family.
Well, there she is. That was the funniest thing I think I've ever heard. We have comedians on our show this week, and they'll never be as funny as whatever Kamala Harris was laughing at. It's truly bizarre. But we have this little montage. This is Kamala Harris telling us how Joe Biden is one of her favorite people, but then rolling back some videos where maybe he wasn't at one time her favorite person.
Joe Biden is one of my most favorite people.
It was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country.
And I see him making some of the most important, difficult decisions that any human being on earth would have to make.
Well, we're going to win, and we're going to help. We have plans to build a railroad from the Pacific all the way across the Indian Ocean.
He's seen it all.
I can't wait to see that bridge. That will be one of the greatest engineering feats of all time. A bridge from India to the Pacific Ocean across the whole, I mean, wow. What kind of engineering would it require to do something like that? Joe's been talking about infrastructure. Man, is he ever on top of it with that. Truly incredible. And that lady that you just saw is one heartbeat away. One 84-year-old heartbeat away from the Oval Office. Comforting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a couple of questions, then we've got a section we want to get to before the day because it's just a huge story for the week.
All right, super chat from Agile Monk today. Governor, when do we start looking into the 20-plus Republicans that keep voting with Biden and the Democrats and find out what the deep state has on them or who in the public-private business sector are paying them off? God bless.
There were 20 Republicans who voted with the Democrats to basically stand with Adam Schiff. Of all people, Adam Schiff is the biggest liar in Congress. And for years, he kept saying, I've got evidence, hard evidence, that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. And he made a big deal about it, kept talking about it, how he had seen the evidence. Of course, he never produced it. Now we find out that the reason he never produced it, because there wasn't any. I mean, he got caught in a bald-faced lie. What's happened to him? Nothing. So, Anna Paulina Luna is the congresswoman from Florida, and she signed or presented the bill that would have made Adam Schiff pay half of the cost of the investigation, which would be $16 million, and censure him. and it would have passed if all the Republicans had voted for it. But 20 of them did not. And I have no idea. I cannot understand for the life of me why they would say, oh, we don't want to offend Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff has been sticking it to us for years and lying. And I guess he'll continue to do it.
Yeah.
I can't answer why.
Yeah, that was Representative Anna Paulina Luna, right?
Anna Paulina
okay,
Luna, yeah.
All right, Stay Strong is saying, Gov, why doesn't the RNC publicly and financially turn on the Republicans in name only that undermine conservative beliefs?
Well, let me be fair to the RNC on that. It would be easy to say, gee, they should, but the RNC is supposed to help the party, and the party is not a monolithic group of people. There are people who have different views, and they're entitled to that. As voters, we're entitled to vote somebody else in their place, but the party really can't go after members of good standing in the party. They just can't, because if they do, then somebody will ask, well, how come you like this Republican but not that one? People voted on this one and put them there, just like they voted on the more conservative ones. And it's honestly a catch-22 for the party. So I'm going to defend them on that. I don't want them to get into basically arguing with the voters of a congressional district. I may argue with the voters of the congressional district. I have every right to, and so do you. But you don't want the party, whose job it is to elect Republicans, to begin to decide which ones can and cannot be called Republican. That would be problematic. All right, this has been a big week at the White House, because they've basically gone all rainbow and pride. And it has just been painful to watch some of this. And I want to give you just a synopsis of what has happened. I can't imagine that you're totally oblivious to it. But the White House put a large gay pride flag front and center, draped on the White House, and put 2 American flags on either side, which is a direct violation of federal flag protocol, which means that the U.S. flag always should be center and always should be elevated higher than any other flag of any kind, whether it's a state flag or an emphasis flag. Stars and stripes always above, always. Not at the White House this week. Nope, they didn't do it that way. And someone called out at the White House press room, Karine Jean-Pierre, and asked, how come you did this? You know, it seems a little difficult that you've prominently displayed gay pride over the stars and stripes.
There's been some criticism also of the White House, the flag placement, the pride flag violating the U.S. flag code. Did anybody notice that or fail to notice that, or was it an intentional statement? Can you just explain what happened with that?
So the administration was proud, again, to display the pride flag. It was a historic event at the White House. It's centered around the love and family, and I think that's important. And so, you know, we're not going to let anyone distract us from that.
Not going to let anyone detract you from what? Violating the flag code, making a mockery of the stars and stripes that people have died for, and elevating the rainbow pride flag above our country's flag. She went on to say that it was dangerous and a dangerous thing to say, because it was somehow offensive to transgender. What in the world does that have to do with why you'd violate the flag code? It's just absurd. Notice one of the things that Karine Jean-Pierre will do. She will always throw out the word when she's nervous and not sure what she's going to say. One of her, I guess, verbal tics is she'll start every sentence with so, and she'll drag it out because she's saying, what do I say now? It's very fascinating to watch. I want to go to this one. Hakeem Jeffries is the ranking member of the House, and he was asked about this whole flag thing. He first attacks Republicans, and then he pretends he has no idea what the flag protocol should be. Let's watch.
What do you make of this, number one? And do you think that the White House went, did they err in any way, the way they displayed the pride flag, the way that the flag code is supposed to be displaying the American?
Extreme MAGA Republicans continue to engage in petty performance politics. They are not serious about addressing the issues that are of importance to the American people. I'm unfamiliar with this controversy, so to speak?
This controversy, so to speak. I'm not familiar. Yeah, you are. You just were talking about it. And he switches over and tries to talk about these MAGA Republicans. This is not about MAGA Republicans. This is about just patriotic Americans. I think a lot of Democrats are offended to see the American flag put on the same level as a gay pride flag. Mm-hmm. Even if you think you're all about gay pride and Pride Month, I don't know why we have to have a whole month of it. It's a little bit weird to me. We have one day for Easter, one day for Christmas. We have a whole month for homosexuality and transgenderism and lesbianism and all the other alphabets that we have to somehow pay tribute to. And yet, what really is offensive to many of us is I think, just a disgraceful attitude toward the flag. But it wasn't just the flag. Joe and Jill Biden hosted a big event on the grounds of the White House. They were so very thrilled to have all these people transgender, which means you have biological men dressed up as women and biological women dressed up as men, pretending they're something they're not. And Joe says that they're the most courageous people he's ever seen. And I want you to see just a little bit of what actually happened. We can't show all of it to you because, honestly, it's beneath the standards of our network and our live stream. But here's a little taste of it.
Welcome to the White House.
Thank you. Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Year. Happy Pride Life.
Yeah!
Transgender children.
You are beautiful.
You are heard.
You belong.
You are understood.
You are loved.
And you belong. Some of the bravest and most inspiring people I've ever known. And
you're welcome.
Good folks.
What was really outrageous, which we could not show, is some of the participants at a White House event went topless and really had a great time giving us a little bit more than we wanted to see, stuff that we cannot unsee. And a couple of days later, when there was real controversy, because people thought it was disgraceful, even if you thought that the event was fine, that these people had disgraced the White House and the event by pulling their tops down and parading around the White House grounds topless. So it took them 48 hours, but the White House finally said, oh, yeah, they shouldn't have done that, and they won't be invited back to anything. Why did you invite them in the first place? Just disgusting. There's a little bit of hope coming up, though. There are some school kids in various places who are revolting over being told that at school they have to wear rainbow colors to show their support for Pride Day. And a lot of kids were wearing red or blue or black shirts and colors and saying, I am not going to wear a rainbow shirt to somehow show support for something that I don't necessarily feel support for. Watch.
Displays of intolerance and homophobia are unacceptable.
This type of intolerant rhetoric starts in the home.
Parents angry at town hall over intolerance at Marshall Simons Middle School. Kids were asked to wear rainbow clothes in honor of Pride Spirit Day, but some organized a counter-protest wearing red, white, and blue or black. The principal sharing a statement to families that Pride posters were ripped down, stickers ripped up. Some students chanted, USA are my pronouns, and students showing Pride were intimidated.
It was an unruly disruption.
I think an unruly disruption is forcing children to somehow sign on to something that many of them would consider to be deviant behavior. I just don't think that that's appropriate. What would happen, Pam, if that school had said, okay, everybody on Easter weekend has to wear a cross on their T-shirt?
Oh.
I mean, Jewish kids would find that appalling, and their parents, and rightfully so.
Right.
I would be the first one to say, no, you can't force a child to embrace the Christian faith in a public school or the Muslim faith or the Jewish faith or any faith. That's just inappropriate to tell them. Now, if the kid wants to come to school wearing Star of David or a cross, the kid ought to be able to do it. But that's a choice the kid makes. The school doesn't get to impose that upon these kids.
Well, of course, you're saying child, too. And how much knowledge do they really have at that age? The understanding of what even gay pride is, or the understanding of their own faith, for that matter.
Exactly.
So it's a very interesting time.
And it's why a lot of parents are pulling their kids out of public schools by the millions in this country, and I cannot blame them. Well, we're out of time. But you know what we do have for you? We have a whole lot coming up this weekend, but I want to remind you, you can leave questions in the comments section. And did I mention, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, click the notification bell so we'll tell you when we have more content coming your way. Our Live with Mike streams every Friday unless we tell you otherwise. We're happy that you've joined us.